Hey, what's going on, everyone? Back with another knife overview. Today we're going to be looking at the Benchmade Narrows. This is the box that it comes with, standard Benchmade blue class inside, some of the paperwork as well as a little microfiber pouch for it. I've been wanting to get my hands on one of these ever since they came out, because right from the jump these have just been so polarizing in that, here as it sits, you have a blue class that has a $580 MSRP. So we're kind of getting away from that, normal blue class ballpark, and I wanted to see what all the fuss was. The game said it the best: hate it or love it. There's nobody that's really lukewarm about this knife. The people that love it really do love it. The people that hate it, well, they hate it. With that, I wanted to go over some of the size of this thing. So you're looking at 8 inches overall. It has a 3.44 inch blade. It's going to be drop point. It weighs a very slim 2.41 ounces. The pivot is going to be running on bearings. The steel is M390, as I said, $580 MSRP. Going on the website, I kind of wanted to see, so this boasts that it is 33% thinner than the Benchmade bug out, and this is the Benchmade bug out that I have. It has aluminum handles, but it still shares that same M390 steel, but as you can see, or as the name implies, the Narrows is very narrow. So with that, we're going to kind of get into my observations and overview. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Before we jump into my overview, I did want to do a few comparisons. I'll save the Benchmade bug out for last, but the Benchmade Narrows as compared to a Chris Reeve large Sabenza 31, looks like that. And also, just fresh off the boat today, Microtech Stitch, looks like that. And then finally, I'll throw it again up against the Benchmade bug out. So kind of keeping in mind, in the general theme that I want everybody to think about throughout this video is just the inescapable fact that this Benchmade bug out, the MSRP is going to be $300, and then the Benchmade Narrows MSRP is $580. So, as far as materials go, this one's titanium handles, this one has aluminum handles, both M390 steel, both have an axis lock. This axis lock is apparently a little bit more beefed up. We're looking at the same clip. So there's a lot of similarities here, but there's a $280 difference in price. And so with this video, I kind of wanted to see what were those differences and were they worth it. All right, my first observation of the Benchmade Narrows, being that the general theme here is to save weight, super thin, super slicey, but in a full-size package. I'm kind of disappointed that they went with M390, and the profile of this blade is so tiny. M390, I really would have liked to see something that was a little bit harder. Like, I think at this price point, if this was MagnaCut with a little bit, harder blade, realizing that it is going to be slimmer, not as hard use, I think that would have been much more palatable. M390 at this point is just kind of like run-of-the-mill. I mean, everybody has M390, but I think MagnaCut, when you get into that higher echelon, especially for a smaller, lightweight knife, I would have liked to see that. The next observation that I saw was, and I did, I went on Benchmade's website, read the reviews, went on Blade HQ, read the reviews, again, very polarizing. People either loved this thing or hated it. The thing that I wanted to kind of debunk, and what really bothered me, and hopefully I can foot stomp it here, is people were like, oh, at that price point, just buy, a Chris Reeve. You cannot compare these two knives. Like, this does not equal this. The only thing these knives have in common is the fact that they're knives and the MSRP. Well, not this one specifically. This one's way more expensive, but a plain Jane Chris Reeve large Sabenza 31 and a Benchmade Narrows, you could make the argument that, like, oh, just get that instead. But when you start peeling back the layers and looking at what these knives are, they are very different for a very different audience. So I just kind of wanted to debunk that. I saw that online on pretty much every single website and every review. I don't think that that's a fair comparison, nor would I make that, because what I equated that to, it's basically like being like, oh, like a Jeep Rubicon is the same thing as a, Ford Mustang 5.0. They might have the same MSRP, but they are totally different animals. All right, next we're going to jump into my impressions of this knife. As the name implies, it is really slim or narrow even. I thought it was interesting, so the scales on here are going to be relieved on both the inside, so it's cut out in the inside and the outside in the exact same place. So this titanium that's under these little patches right here, I would love to have a micrometer and know how little material is there, but it is very, very slim. Like I've never seen that before where they do weight relief on the inside and on the outside in the same exact place. Another myth that I wanted to debunk about the Narrows, I saw it a lot where people were like, oh, like it's so thin, you know, I bet the frame flexes, and people are like, no, I own one, it won't flex. I don't know if you can see this, but I can definitely flex this frame on both sides. I'm not some superhuman, so yes, it is thin. You can flex it just due to the nature of how thin the titanium is. All right, my next impression was I do like this clip. It's very appropriate for the size of this knife. Again, it shares the same kind of Lynch clip that we see on the bug out, as well as I have an Emerson CQC 17 with a Lynch clip. Same one, really do like it. The new axis lock, in order to actuate it, it is very small. So here, compared to the bug out, this is kind of the more traditional access lock. There's not much real estate there, and I've not yet tried this with gloves on, but I do think it may be a little bit challenging to actuate just because the mechanisms are so small. All right, my next impression was I found the jimping a little bit curious, and you know, both this and the bug out are blue class Benchmades. It's interesting to me that on the bug out they put the jimping on, you know, the actual handles of the knife, but then and nothing, you know, on top or on the spine of the knife, but it's the exact opposite for the Benchmade Narrows. They don't put any jimping right here, and they do put it right here. I found that I really do prefer the jimping that's on the bug out to the Narrows. To further punctuate how narrow this knife is, if I have a regular grip with it, and keep in mind I do have very large hands, but it feels most natural to hold it here. If I reach up for this jimping, just my natural hold and how thin this is, it has, like, this is me holding this knife comfortably. If I keep it kind of straight up and down, it almost feels like I'm balancing on it in a really weird way, like it wants to roll. I don't have that problem with the Benchmade bug out because it is that much thicker. So I mean, it's nice that it's so thin, but just keep in mind if you get on the jimping way up here and bear down, it's going to turn the knife in like that, just due to how wide it is, but how narrow the Benchmade Narrows is. All right, the last impression that I had of the Benchmade Narrows, I'm gonna have to flip it around here. So it does say M390 on it, and then I'll try to get a picture of it maybe, but it says benchmade.com/pat. So I was curious. I was like, all right, well, it's probably something to do with the patent. I went on there and it was just a list of all the Benchmade patents. And if you go down to the Benchmade Narrows, the patent is D951747. So literally them writing a web address here, which I don't understand like why they did that. Like, who's looking at this being like, oh, I wonder what the patent page is on benchmade.com. Like, who the hell wants to know that? I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a cool thing to do. I've never seen that before. Maybe you put like the website if you didn't know, hey, it's www.benchmade.com. But the fact that if you wanted to put the patent on here, just put the patent, but just to put the patent page, I don't think that really covers you legally anyways, because it's not specific enough. But or you could just put the patent that falls under the Narrows, and it actually is less characters than you writing the whole website. So I don't know what you're doing, Benchmade, but I really don't get it. I mean, they might as well put like Benchmade's phone number on there too. Like, in case you want to reach the front office, yeah, I saved you a Google search. It's on the side of your knife. All right, and that concludes my overview of the Benchmade Narrows. I don't really like this knife that much. If it was $200 cheaper, we could talk, but the price point, it's just not there. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you say. There's nothing that this Narrows can do that this Benchmade bug out can't do, and it's $280 cheaper. All in all, it is a slicey knife. Again, not worth much more than my, you know, aluminum bug out that I have. The only difference being the handle material, I think. The blue class at this price point with these materials, it was kind of a leap of faith, I think, for Benchmade, and people, like I said, they either hate it or love it. Again, it's There's no escaping it. It is a super lightweight knife. It's marketed for weight savings, and a lot of the reviews or things that I read was like, oh, when I'm like hiking or backpacking, but honestly, like a heavy knife has never stuck out to me as like a problem that needed to be solved. Like, I mean, if I was out there with this Benchmade bug out that might weigh an ounce more than this, like, I'm not like being like, oh, I hate the bug out now, I got to get this Narrows because it saved me an ounce. Like, that doesn't make sense. It's not a real problem. We're creating solutions to problems that don't exist. I would say all in all, like, if you can stomach the $200 premium on this one over the bug out, and what I equated it to is like a, you know, dealer upcharge, right? So like you go in to buy, you know, a Jeep Wrangler $392, and then the dealer markup on it. So the MSRP is 80 grand, dealer markup's 40. You're looking at, you know, $110,000. Yeah, whatever the price is, that's kind of what I would equate this to. So if you can stomach that, if you have enough, you know, disposable income where you're like, whatever, like, I'll just go for it, then go for it. But it's not worth the money. It's not worth $280 more than a bug out. So I don't know what my, you know, future is with this knife. I may try to sell it since it's in good shape. I don't think I'm going to try to do any like tests on it or anything like that. But yeah, it was a really interesting knife to try out. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a hit or a miss? I'd love to get your thoughts. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We will see you next time.